Okay, I was asked to discuss, the efficiently accessing water, labour and energy to feed the world. So, the overarching challenge to me, and in fact all farmers, is how do we produce enough feed to feed this world? According to most predictions, farmers will need to produce more food in the next 50 years than has been produced collectively by all the farmers in the last 10,000 years. Described in another way, we must increase our food and fibre production by 110% to meet the world's demands in the next 40 years. Efficiently accessing water, labour and energy is not the Australian farmer's challenge. We already do that, and we are already at the leading edge of efficient farming in the world by most international standards. The challenge to us is to maintain access to the tools that we require to feed this world. The future in farming is extremely positive. However, we are losing access to so many of our tools that we need to deliver what the world needs in this coming future. So what are these tools? Water availability and security is paramount for our family business. We rely on groundwater and surface water to supplement rainfall and maximise the productivity of our rich black soils. 4 years ago, we had 70% of our groundwater licence permanently removed by the New South Wales government. We're now facing further water cutbacks to our groundwater and surface water sources via the Murray-Darling Basin Plan. Continually changing natural resource management policies and broken core promises such as there will be no carbon tax stifles our ability to focus on the goalposts, that they're continually moving. And now we have the threat of coal mining and coal seam gas extraction occurring in our area, which could permanently fracture our underground aquifers and also our surface water sources. Skilled labour shortages is also a growing issue, along with the mining. As they move into our district, we're finding that they're drawing away farm labour, offering much higher salaries than agricultural profits can manage to compete with. Younger people aren't wanting to do the manual labour that agriculture demands, and they don't see agriculture as a financially rewarding career to pursue, which I think is it's a misconception that. But anyway, younger generations also want better healthcare and facilities than those that we can offer and provide in rural and regional Australia, and therefore they seem to be attracted to the bigger cities. Reduced investment in agricultural research and development and extension over the last 30 years is starting to really show through now. We're seeing basic farming equipment that hasn't really moved forward with advancing modern technology, and I'll discuss a bit of that later, I guess, on the panel. Crop yields are falling well behind the projected food demand that the world's needs are showing, and plant breeding has been limited by the investment funds being redirected to other private sector research. So how can we achieve the task of feeding our world when we're faced with so many challenges? And how am I addressing those challenges at the farm level? Well, after some soul searching and determining what I can influence and what's outside of my circle of influence, these are just a few things that I have done. On our farm, we've invested in state-of-the-art water scheduling equipment with real-time telemetric reporting systems. We've got solar-powered water storage computer monitors, and we're implementing improved water delivery systems. We're investing in quality on-farm housing for our employees to be a preferred choice employer. We also have a farm self-sufficiency program where we produce all our own meat and vegetables to help reduce our employees' cost of living. We're investing in highly efficient and technologically advanced farm equipment, such as some light zero-till planters that we've imported in from South America, state-of-the-art spray booms with weed-seeking infrared technology, and GPS auto steer with 2 centimetre accuracy. We've investigated alternative sources such as biodiesel and solar power, and we'll continue to develop a program to implement these systems into our business. I've also been actively involved in lobbying state and federal governments against the rapid and blind expansion of the coal and coal seam gas industries in my area to prevent the permanent destruction of prime food producing farming land and also our precious water resources. As a farmer, I'm being asked to produce more with dwindling access to resources, for producing more for a lower price, without the necessary support and technological tools to achieve this. saying, increasing my efficiency has improved my productivity, but it's not the silver bullet. The reality is that farmers will not be able to feed the world without major change to society's understanding of where their food comes from and what they're prepared to invest in agriculture to secure their food supplies. And I'll leave you with this one thought, a proverb. It's a Spanish proverb, and it says that civilization and anarchy are only 7 meals apart. Thank you.
I'd just like to clarify that this talk is in many ways quite specific to the wine industry being a vertically integrated business, so grape production or grape growing, wine production and marketing a branded product. I think many of the things I'm going to talk about now draw on things that we've heard in the last 2 days, but also we've heard on here. Many of the big brands and big names you hear in the wine industry, Penfolds, Lindemans, De Bortley, Tyrrells, are a mix of corporate and family businesses. Most of them started as family businesses, many of them were bought by corporates or the brands were sold off or whatever. So we've had this evolution, but there are still a sector of family-owned businesses out there. The wine industry sees regular cycles of boom and bust, and the multi-generational family businesses have endured these cycles with product authenticity and innovation, both being key planks to their survival and success. And whilst this might look just like some bottles of wine, there's a 55-year spread in the release of these two wines, and you'll see obviously there's been a freshening of the packaging, but the innovation in what looks very similar is obviously a complete change in the closure. So cork to screw cap might sound very simple, but that was actually a massive leap of change for both the Australian wine industry and continuing to happen on an international basis. Corporate institutions don't weather the boom and bust cycles very well. The problems of variable returns on investment and shareholder expectations often curtail their ability to respond to the challenges that emerge in that environment. And they tend to react by selling assets, brands and reducing costs. The wine industry has seen the real re-emergence of the multi-generational family-owned wine business over the last 10 years. Product authenticity, a general absence from major product discounting, strong financial positions and a long-term perspective in regards to return on investment have contributed to this situation. There's a range of attributes which these businesses bring to the industry's table, and these make these industries an important cornerstone of our industry. So these attributes obviously are products, vision, agility, endurance and commitment, and the people. So these businesses have brands which have history and longevity, and they're perceived to be authentic by consumers. So many icon wines like Hill of Grace, Tyrrell's VAT 47, for example, are products of these family-owned wine businesses, and they have immeasurable value to those businesses. Vision. The greatest strength of the multi-generational family wine business is the vision to see projects over the long term. So longer than that 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 years a corporate body might have. So there's a patience to let a project run, to develop and to evolve. And obviously the end point may not have been the end point they planned at the start, but sometimes the road changes and is better. So for example, Viognier as a variety, you might still see that as quite new. That's been 25 years in the pipeline for the Hill-Smith family in Yalumba. So multi-generational families, businesses have that freedom to have a go that's not there in some other business structures. At the Wine Industry Technical Conference last year, Wendy Cameron, a winemaker from Brown Brothers, talked about John Brown saying to her in her first week, "I expect you'll make a few duds this year." And her going, no, John, it'll all be fine. And he said, no, I want you to stuff a few up because you won't find out the recipe of success if you don't have some failures on the way. And she said that freedom to fail was extremely liberating. Agility, there's that agility in that family-owned business to move quicker and be a bit more responsive. That obviously comes with risk. But many of the new technical ideas and wine styles and packaging innovations have come out of family-owned businesses. So soft packs, screw caps and a few of those other things. Agility and vision combined is a very powerful tool. Endurance and commitment. Multi-generational family businesses obviously have a commitment to success. They know that their forebears have endured and survived tough times and that they probably have a more challenging business environment these days, but we have a hell of a lot more tools at our disposal, which we've seen some of in the last 2 days. There's that sense that failure is not an option and that it won't happen on my watch by the current custodians. People, obviously, we have older people, middle-aged people and younger people generally in these businesses, so you have that depth of experience as well as youthful enthusiasm. Now, I've mentioned obviously a lot of the positives about the multi-generational family business, and as always there obviously are risks and threats to this model. And the elephant in the room is obviously succession, or as Mandy said yesterday, continuity. And it's really how we manage this as to how successful these businesses are. So the people who've chosen to use external advisors or leaders to help sort out roles and business and the competencies of the family members obviously contributes widely to that outcome. So businesses who've tended to embrace that are generally doing well. Those who don't embrace it maybe aren't travelling so well. So the success of a multi-generational family business is driven as much by passion and commitment and innovation as it is by a strong business and succession planning approach. The authenticity of people and place and products are integral to the business as well. So in our industry, the multi-generational family wine business punches above their weight when it comes to their contribution to the sustainability of the Australian wine industry, and they will remain an important cornerstone looking forward. Thank you.